What's going on, everyone? And welcome to another episode of Writing Friction. And as always, today's guest is pretty cool. Everyone say hello to Sam Tallent. How are you, Sam?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, Michael. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, man, this is a blast.
Michael got a new apartment right upstairs, and I want to be the one to break the news. So I don't want you to have that. So we're all very excited for Michael to move into a one bedroom above his current studio apartment.
Correct. The SF Chronicle will write about it tomorrow, and I imagine my
That
Twitter
rag, that pinko commie rag.
and my
Good.
my thousands and thousands of Twitter followers will follow along with every move. Yeah, I actually have a puppy too, and she'll be making the move with me. It's a bulldog puppy.
That's
But
nice of you. I'm glad you're not leaving her in the apartment when you move. That's
at this
solid.
point, I might. Yeah, she's destroyed everything in this apartment, so I'm hoping she doesn't destroy everything else in the new apartment. That would suck.
Oh, God. What a
You ever have a
nightmare.
dog? You ever have a puppy or any animal?
Oh, yeah.
What? Oh,
Right
okay.
here.
What? Boy, girl, name?
We got Gordy. He's a boy,
Yeah,
and
yeah, all
he's
right.
13.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I lucked into him because my wife had him first, so I
Okay,
never
okay,
got him when he
cool.
was destroying everything besides
Yeah.
eating her underwear, which
Yeah,
he's a
no,
big
most
fan of.
I love it. I love it. So, Sam, I usually start the podcast, kind of introduce yourself, let people know, where are you from? Obviously, for people who don't know, Sam is a very talented stand-up comedian, and for the people who do know, I'm a stand-up comedy fanatic. So this is the first time I'm kind of linking up with Sam, and we'll kind of get into that. But yeah, introduce yourself, Sam. Where you're from, and how did you kind of get into comedy?
I was born and raised on the eastern plains of Colorado in Elizabeth, Colorado, which is like a population of less than 1,000. And then in 2005, I moved to Denver and started doing improv and stand up, and then moved to Ithaca, New York for a couple years, and then back to Denver. And I've been doing stand up and comedy since I guess 2005 now.
That was your first open mic.
Yeah, so I did improv first because I never wanted to do stand up. I always wanted to be like a sketch comedy, like Second City,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like Chris Farley and those kind of guys. I always idolized that cast of SNL that had like Sandler and Spade and Norm Macdonald's my favorite comedian of all time. So I never thought I was gonna do stand up, but then after doing improv, where you have to like perform with people who like their husband just died and they're trying to get out of the house, or the funny guy at the office, who's just pretty much quoting Mad TV instead of being original. I got into stand up so I could be alone on stage, and never looked back.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you said, growing up in Eastern Colorado, Denver being the major city, probably closest to you. Also, Denver has always been kind of known as a comedy hub. The comedy works, things like that. Denver has been known for that. My question for you though, when you moved there in '05, was there an improv scene there? Was there something you could kind of walk into?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate you saying that Denver's a comedy hub, because being from Denver, or at least being a comedian from Denver, we have such a chip on our shoulder because everyone thought Chicago and LA and New York, Austin, Texas, Boston, they're all great places, but yeah, Denver has like pound for pound, I think one of the best comedy lineages in the history of stand up. So thank you. Yeah, there was a couple theaters in Denver. There was a short form theater where you could do like Whose Lines Is It Anyway stuff and get paid, called the Impulse, I think. And then yeah, I signed up for the Bovine Metropolis's classes. That was my graduation present from my mom from high school, was the first level at the Bovine, and they had shows every night of the week. And I learned from people who learned from like Del Close and Sharna Halpern and stuff. Big Chicago influence there. So yeah, I think there's still a very strong improv community in Denver,
Uh huh.
but it
And
doesn't get
how?
the love that stand up does, because stand up is like sexy and cool, compared to improv, which is like, you know, for I don't want to cast them in like a stereotype, but it's mostly like dorks. So um it's a lot more fun to go to a bar in Denver and like get trashed and hang out with hot young people who are
Yeah.
doing cocaine than to
Yeah.
like go watch some people pretty much rip off Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Because that's all it was back then. Is people like Sunny came out and people were just trying to do Sunny on stage, and it was
Yeah.
so annoying.
Well, and I think it was important that we talk about the year again, 2005. A lot of you had also mentioned Mad TV, but Mad TV had been finished by then.
I don't know, man, but I remember loving Mad TV when I was
Oh
a
yeah, I
kid.
mean Artie, I mean all those dudes, Bobby Lee. I mean that was the
Yeah.
genesis for a lot of those dudes. It kind of kicked off that career, and what a wonky show, and what a weird time because I mean they were again going up against SNL, obviously.
Yeah.
How many seasons did that run for total? Do you know?
I do not, man.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question.
That's
I'm
a
not.
fun conversation I've never actually had. I don't know
Yeah,
how long Mad TV ran for, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it was just as important because SNL wasn't always good, and at least Mad TV was kind of like strange and weird and confrontational.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, so
Kind of
um
almost bordered on cringy, but the comic
yeah,
also bordered on cringy. Not full cringe, but
it was very juvenile compared to SNL, which was so it has head so far up his ass. It's like this cultural institution.
yeah.
And Mad TV just kind of got to throw spaghetti at the wall and for better or worse, see what stuck, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. All right, so you kind of step into that improv world. Maybe you're feeling it, maybe you're not. How long do you do before you kind of write, what, your first 3, 5 minutes? What was that like?
So the fifth time I ever did stand up was in the finals at the Comedy Works New Faces contest, which
Oh
is like
shit, okay.
their prestigious contest that everyone does. And getting to the finals was like a big deal, but I fucking bombed, of course, because
Yeah,
I wasn't a comedian. I wasn't a stand up comic, so I got up there and just ate my ass.
yeah.
So yeah, I tried stand up because there was a bar in Denver called the Squire, which was like the coolest bar. And I wasn't 21 yet, but whenever I tried to do stand up there once and they let me in and no one carded me once I went on stage and was like funny, you know? So it was kind of a way to get into what cool people were doing. Cause I was in music too. I'm a drummer.
Oh,
So
dope. Right on. Did you play in bands?
yeah, that's why I moved to Ithaca. Cause this
I
kid
was
that I
gonna
grew up
ask
with,
why the fuck did you move to Ithaca?
yeah. So I like was in college and I didn't like it
Yeah,
because
I figured. Yeah,
um so yeah, he learned how to play bass when we were in like sixth grade, along to my drumming. So he was like my best friend, and he went to Ithaca, and I was like, well, it kind of sucks here. Let's go up there and start this band. And we lived in this anarchist commune and just practiced all the time and toured, and were very sincere and like earnest in what we did. And uh, you know, we people didn't always like us. We were pretty much like we were like a hardcore noise band, kind of like Minutemen meets Lightning Bolt.
2 piece.
Yeah, two-piece drum and bass. We had a singer for a minute, but he graduated from Cornell and was like, "Well, I'm not going to stay in Ithaca. I'm going to go
Yeah, I've
have a
never
very
toured.
nice job."
I've never toured as a duo. I've always toured in bands, but I don't know if you listen to Rogan, but when he had on the Black Keys, they talk about it extensively. What it was like touring with just 2 people,
Yeah.
especially when you're playing the shit clubs, not making any money. When you're touring with a bunch of dudes, like there's a gang. It's you guys. But with 2 people, if you have a bad night, I'd imagine you get a flat tire, or so you're stuck with just that one person. Yeah.
Yeah, we never did it just a two-piece. Like we would
Oh,
always
okay. Thank God.
bring a friend along to take photos because it was pretty much a vacation.
Yeah.
So we were never just us. There was a couple gigs we would do in like, Buffalo or go over to Burlington, Vermont where it was just the two of us, but yeah, we would always, and then later on when we would tour, we would bring an opening band that was our friends. But yeah, man, that band was just a friendship, is all it was. It was just a platonic, deeply, deeply held friendship between two men, and we were brothers in arms. We didn't make money. We only played DIY spaces
Yeah.
because we were like so into the politics of anti-capitalism and anarchy at the time, or at least anti-statism, and yeah, so it was just the two of us eating quinoa and dumpster diving and making our own merch, making our own CDs, and never coming home with money. It was never lucrative. I always lost money on tour.
That's why you tour.
Yeah,
To
for sure. I
lose
mean, and I
money.
don't regret it at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, of course. You're the last thing you're doing on tour is making money.
You're
Yeah,
making
yeah,
memories, brother.
a fuck ton. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So what was that? I mean, so you made that transition to stand up. Again, I gotta admit, stand up comedy is the one art form I will never attempt because it's the one art form I have the utmost respect for. I can never get on stage with a microphone by myself and attempt to make people laugh.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Therefore, I'll never try it. Were you always the kind of dude who's just like always making people laugh, fucking around, or did you kind of is your writing different than your persona? How did you kind of come into your own as a stand-up?
Yeah, I mean, I always have valued humor above anything else, and like you know, my friendships, all that stuff. So I was always a funny person. My parents were funny. My family was funny. So um, I'm not a good writer on stage. Like I'm very silly on stage, and there's never any politics or like I'm not trying to. I just want everyone to get the most laughs they can for the money they paid, and also I'm like trying to kill. You know, I don't think it's an art form, and I have this conversation a lot just because like in art you get to have like symbolism and you get to like be in the nuance and you get to make people feel a multitude of ways. Like one painting can make people feel sad or happy or like chagrin or whatever, and in stand up you just have to make them laugh. Like that's the only thing that you're doing. If you're not making them laugh, then you're not a comedian. You're not doing the job, you know.
Yes and no. The argument immediately, as soon as you said that, and I don't disagree with you. Obviously, a comedian's job is to make people laugh. Bill Hicks would be an example that comes to mind, where a guy who not only is he making you laugh, but he's also making you think. You know, you're not laughing the entire time. Like you talked about Norm Macdonald, I think, before. Like he's not always. Sometimes the joke goes past, and then it takes 5 minutes for it to kind of come back to you. Um, there's ways to go about it, yeah. But I dig with what you're saying for sure. Yeah, I mean, making people laugh, obviously, yeah, number
Yeah, man,
one.
but like if I'm buying a ticket, I would much rather see Harlan Williams or Sinbad than Bill Hicks. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had an
yeah.
option, if it was like you can go see any comedian, I would never. I mean, top 10, I wouldn't see Bill Hicks, you know,
Well,
because
that's
like I don't want to
taste,
be
right? We're
preached
talking
to.
about taste. Yeah, yeah.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah.
And to
But
be honest, I'm not even a huge Bill Hicks fan, but as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, well, that's a dude who was known for doing that, you know?
mhm.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
also dressed like a cowboy in his last special, and no
definitely.
one made fun of him for it. You know that one where he came out wearing a cowboy hat and a
Was he
duster?
dying? Was he dying of cancer at that point?
Yeah.
Give
All right, we give him a pass.
him a little
But
bit of pass.
yeah, no. So I don't know, dude. Like
Yeah,
I Bill Hicks is totally good, and I'm glad that he was a comedian and
yeah.
everything. But the people who really, really like Bill Hicks are the worst ones to talk to after a show. You know,
Yeah, no, dude, you make a great point for sure.
they
Yeah.
also love Tool. That's their favorite band every time. They love Bill Hicks. They love Tool. They love Lucky Strike filterless cigarettes.
Boom, boom, boom. We
Yeah.
got three strikes. I'm a fan. I like you already got me, Sam. So for people who don't know, the reason Sam is even on the podcast was because I did a podcast with Doug Stanhope.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Sam knows how that even came about, but real quick, the story was I came home one day and I was letting Reba, my puppy, out of the crate, and she comes out and she just pukes. Just she'd eaten
Oh
something off
no.
the ground. And as I'm cleaning up her puke, I go on I'm like cleaning up her puke and I'm on Twitter
Yeah.
and I see Doug, he just posted, he was like, I'll come on your podcast right now. I didn't even know he did this kind of thing.
Oh yeah. He's so bored in that compound of his.
Well, I found that out after an hour of talking to him. Yeah, but I posted the thread and we did it. And he mentioned your book, which
Yeah.
I had no idea even existed.
Yeah.
And he was super stoked on it. And now I bought a copy. It hasn't come yet, but I'm super stoked on it. And that's why I'm stoked to have you on. So please do tell the people about the book and how it came about.
Well, let me ask you this: did you buy it from me?
No, I buy it through the local bookstore. They go
Okay.
through,
Good.
yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Good. Good.
yeah.
That rules. What's your local bookstore?
Green Apple Books.
Yeah, dude, over there on what is that? 4th and Gary?
You're
Or
close.
no.
Fourth Clement Street, a block
Clement
away.
Street. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
always
actual
always local.
dude, I love Green Apple. That
Yeah,
rules. My friends lived at 415 fuck. Clement's the one where all the great like dumpling shops are on, right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What's the
There's
one
a heavy
2 blocks
neighborhood.
over?
What's up?
What's the one that's closer to the park, the next street over? The main drag right there.
That would be Geary if you're going
Geary.
towards the park. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So they lived right there, man. I love that part of town, dude.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So Stanhope rules. I was just wondering if you ordered it for me because I was like, well, how long ago did I send it out? Because sending media mail, because I fulfill like, I'm glad you ordered from a bookstore, but if you don't want to order it from Amazon, which you shouldn't, buy it from
Of
samtalent.com.
course.
And I do all my shipping, but I'm always like, okay, how long ago was it? Should I check the tracking? Anyway, that's bad information. But the book I wrote, it's about an old, broken down husk of a comedian named Billy Ray Schaefer, and he's just doing a week on the road of terrible like hell gigs in the American Southwest, namely northern New Mexico and southern Colorado.
Not
And it's
Arizona.
no Arizona. No, I just kept it to New Mexico and Colorado because I could write those places without having to go there,
Yeah.
They were just like built into me. And yeah, man, and I'm very, very proud of it. Uh, I'm glad that people have liked it. You know, comedy has gotten behind it. And when I was selling the book, which I ended up self-publishing, thank God, because it was much more lucrative. Like the publishers were like, "We like this, but who's going to read this fucking book? You know, it's so bleak and
Tell me about it.
there's no happy ending." And I was like, "Well, you know, fans of comedy will probably read it." And they were like, "Yeah, but how big of a demographic is that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think everyone's a fan of comedy." You fucking idiots. It blew my mind, dude. But yeah, then Stanhope, I sent a copy to him and he loved it and he championed it. And you know, from there he got me on Burt Kreischer's podcast and he got me on WTF with Marin. And it was just all through the strength of Stanhope getting behind it because he has his integrity, you know, like every comedian knows that even if you don't like Stanhope's act, which I do, he's one of my big heroes. Um, he still has actually he walks the walk. You know what I mean?
It doesn't get more authentic than Doug Stanhope.
Yeah. And he still does those terrible gigs where he'll go to like Yampa, Idaho and sell out a pool hall or a bowling alley through brown paper tickets and get the complete door deal. And the place gets all the booze sales and everyone's happy. So just him building his empire and him exposing me to his legion of fans has been life changing. Like I owe him so much.
I'm sorry. I guess I missed. Did you know Doug before that, or or did you
So
just send out the book?
I'd opened for Doug 3 times, but when you're on the road as much as he is, you don't remember your openers. You know, he was always very generous and kind to me night of the show. But when I went to his house to do the podcast, he didn't remember me, you know, which is fine because I've had so many great comics open for me and I don't remember them, you
Where
know.
did you open for him?
I opened for him in Greeley, Colorado, and then at the Oriental Theater in Denver twice.
Oh, dope. I don't know that place, Oriental Theater.
Oh, it's great, man. Just a big theater in West
Okay.
Denver.
I know
You know,
Denver very well through touring, and I played
yeah.
in Boulder too. But yeah, okay, I don't know that place.
Where'd you guys play in Denver?
Oh man, we played mostly Boulder, but God, I mean, I could tell you the shitty places in Denver we played. We
Yeah.
played that place a bunch of times. It's either the Lions Lair.
Lions Lair.
Dude, oh man, I could tell you some fucking stories about the Lions Lair. Dude, pulling up snow, but we drew the band drew.
Yeah.
I mean, we would pack that place. But right across the street is the Fillmore, or there's another venue.
Yeah, right down the street. Yeah.
What neighborhood of Denver is that called?
That's East Colfax.
Yeah, you know what's up.
It's just Denver, man. I hosted a open mic at Lions Lair every Monday for
man,
7
that place
years.
Gets gnarly.
Yeah, it gets gnarly as hell, dude. I'm so glad you played Lions Lair.
Oh yeah, yeah. And in Boulder we played the Little Bluebird Theater or the
Yeah. That's a great theater, man.
And we also played directly across the street, the pizza shop. There's a venue in a pizza shop.
Yeah, that pizza shop. I've had my heart broken there before, but yeah, that's great, man. Lions Lair is one of the few places it's like actually old Denver. It's been there forever.
Most def, yeah.
Yeah, man. But no, so anyway, Stanhope. He hit me. My friend Mishka Shubali is an author and a troubadour guitar player, and he was very influential in like decisions I made as far as publishing the book. And he got me my literary agent at UTA because it was his agent.
I'm sorry, who was that again?
Mishka Shubali.
Maybe we should get him on the podcast. Yeah, that's dope.
You should, dude. Yeah, no.
And what's the name of him? Well, first off, what's the name of your book?
My book is called Running the Light. Very good, Michael. Thank you.
And what is the name of his book?
The Long Run is his most successful book. It's about becoming sober through marathon running.
Okay.
Which I'm very much not sober, but we're very good friends.
I live in Denver. I live in San Francisco. Don't worry.
Yeah, man. But he lives down the street from Stanhope, and he was like, "Man, you should send this to Doug. Like, you opened for Doug." And I sent it to him, and Stanhope ended up like calling me randomly, and was like, "Hey, this is Doug Stanhope. I'm reading your book, and Jesus fucking Christ, did you steal this right out of my diary? What the fuck?" So now it's gotten to the point where he would call me and I would drop everything, to the point where he calls me now and I'm like, "Oh, I can't do an hour on the phone with Doug right now." But yeah, he had me out to the fun house and I stayed with him a couple times during quarantine, and he's the most generous guy in the world. I love him dearly.
So obviously, Stan, I don't know if Denver's, we're doing this in 2021. I mean, SF's still kind of locked down. I can't go to, funny enough, the night San Francisco shut down for lockdown, I talked about on the podcast, I had a ticket to see Doug at Cobb's.
Oh, yeah.
That night.
He didn't do it, right?
What's up?
He didn't do that show, right?
No, and he talked about it on the podcast. He was
Yeah.
like at the club backstage, and they were like on Twitter announcing maybe it would, and then it was like 50 capacity, and then eventually they just they shut that shit down. So let me ask you, when was the last time you were on a stage, man?
Um. So I did stand up only outside during quarantine, and I did it in like Wyoming and South Dakota, in places that were comparatively low risks for COVID, you know. Because my wife's a doctor and she was just like terrified. And then somehow in December I got COVID. And you know, thank God it didn't. I just lost my sense of smell and taste, and that was it.
Did it
Um,
come back?
yeah, my taste is back and my smell. It's the tough part with the smell is that I never had a good sense of smell.
Same
So
here.
because I smoked cigarettes for so long that
I'm
I can't.
Jewish, but yeah.
Oh man, it's a mitzvah to be here with you, Michael. All right.
There it is.
Um, that's cool, man. I wish I had some kind of cultural identity. I'm just a white guy. Um, but so I did stand up 2 Wednesdays ago at this new comedy club
Oh,
in
dope.
Fort Collins
I'm sorry. So
because
is Colorado open?
mm, you know what the issue with Colorado is, man, is like Denver and Boulder are very like liberal in their politics. They're incredibly blue. But the rest of Colorado is incredibly Republican. Actually, we're the birthplace of the Libertarian Party, so it's like very purple here. So there'll be people who totally believe in the science of it, and you have to wear a mask, but at the same time, they're like, "Well, I'm not shutting down my business." It's just a fucking. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance in Colorado, where it's like, yeah, you know, we voted for Biden, but come in and get all you can eat wings. It's that kind of thing, you know. So yeah, Colorado, Denver is not open for like shows and stuff.
So like the Comedy Works isn't doing like 50% capacity.
So Comedy Works South is there's Comedy Works downtown, which is that's like, you know, Mecca. But that room is it fits 220 people,
Yeah.
and if you were gonna have 50 people in there, it still wouldn't be safe. So the South Club is much bigger, and they have about 500 seats, and it's tiered. So there's an upstairs and a downstairs. So they are doing shows there, at I think quarter capacity.
Right on, right on.
Hmm.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. I mean, the last show I went to, I saw Mark Normand
Oh,
at
good.
Cobb's January 3rd.
Yeah.
That was the last show. And
At least you saw Mark. Mark rules.
oh yeah, no, Mark's. I mean, I don't know Mark, but yeah, he's obviously a great comedian who's kind of
Yeah.
doing his kind of blowing up at the moment. So I
Hmm.
gotta ask. So you said maybe you did some writing before. How did you kind of tackle taking on a novel? Did it kind of just spit out of you, or was it a struggle to get it on paper?
It did spit out of me.
Yeah.
I wrote short stories initially, and then I moved to Vegas for 2 years. My wife's first 2 years of med school were in Vegas.
Okay.
And like you can't go outside. Like I'm used to in Denver, like going outside and reading in a park or like, you know, just walking around. But in Vegas, it's 120 degrees, like 10 months of the year. So I was kind of like locked in my house, and I was writing something else. I wrote like probably 150,000 words of something else. And then the first chapter of my book ended up being um it was supposed to just be a chapter in this other book. And then I wrote the guy, and I was like, well, I kind of know this guy. Let's see what happens with him. And then the book just kind of dumped out of me, man, over
Uh-huh.
the course of like 8 months, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Were you doing, I'm sorry, I guess the time frame gets a little lost on me. When you moved to Vegas, were you doing comedy still, or was that when you were doing comedy?
Oh, yeah. So I never quit doing stand up.
Okay.
I've always done stand up, you know, like 40, 45 weekends a year for the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
12 years. It's
Well,
been, oh, I'm
I was gonna
sorry.
say because Vegas isn't really known as a comedy town, right?
Not good comedy, man. Vegas fucking sucks for comedy.
Yeah.
And there's funny comedians there. I always say Vegas sucks, and then people will be like, "Oh man, that's why did you say that?" And it's like, no, I'm not talking about like Jocelyn Sharp and like Brandon Hahn. Like, there's funny people there, but the crowds there are so fucking. They're so unimaginative. They're just not creative. They're going to see like big C comedy, you know, like and they're not trying to see someone do something new. They want to hear someone talk about their wife's pussy being sweaty, or like you know, what's up with Chinese people. It's just the worst kind of comedy that exists still. You know what I mean?
Could you give me? I'm gonna steal that big C comedy, but first you got to explain or give me an example. The first person that came into mind, and tell me if I'm wrong, would be Sebastian
So yeah,
Maniscalco. Like big, like over the top comedy? What do you mean by big C comedy?
I think I'm just talking about like the when I say big C comedy, I'm talking about like they have an idea of what comedy is. And they don't know about Mark Norman, and they don't know about Doug Stanhope, and they don't know about Ali Wong. They know about who was that? They know about Dalia, and they know about Rogan. They know about the biggest names in comedy, Tom Segura, and they watch their Netflix specials, and they're just going out to try and I'm not shitting on these people, like they're very skilled, but if you're someone who doesn't know about comedy and the level that you dig, the deepest you go is Bert Kreischer, you're not ready to see someone uh, be nuanced or be subtle. You want to be hit over the head with a hammer, like Sebastian for sure. Sebastian does have that great bit about when company comes over, though. Do you know that
He's
bit?
very. I mean, Sebastian has a great history. I mean, people.
Yeah.
If people want to shit on him forever, I mean, people don't know his history. That dude, it's been talked about it forever. But he was working as a waiter, and he would like at the Four Seasons, I think. And after a shift, still dressed in his like uniform, would go to the comedy store and
Yeah.
wait till like 1:30 in the morning. I mean, that guy put in his fucking time. Yeah,
Oh yeah, and I mean it always sucks when you shit on someone when they make it. It's like, what's the point of that? Just because
yeah,
they have exactly what you want to have happen to you, you're mad at them? No,
yeah.
that's not for me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
these
wait, let me
crowds.
ask you a question there, because
Yeah,
again, I'm not a comedian. You tell me.
sure.
Musicians can be like that, but it's not that bad. There's a camaraderie between bands and shit. Is comedy still, or I mean, is it cutthroat behind the scenes at featuring level? I mean, what's it like for you guys at that level on the uptick?
Um, I mean, I know that all the good things that have come in my career have come from other comedians
Yeah,
vouching for me or
yeah,
getting me on TV or getting me the audition for the thing. The industry, and maybe it's because I live in Denver with no intention of moving to LA or New York, but I did the Montreal Comedy Festival, and as soon as people saw my act, they were like, "Hey, I work for CAA. Where do you live?" And I'd be like, "Denver," and their eyes would just glaze over, and
huh?
it's like, "Were you gonna move to Denver? Are you gonna move to LA or New York?" And it's like, "No, my wife's a resident in Fort Collins, so we're going to be here for at least 3 years." And it was like I pissed on their shoes. They were like, "Oh, you're wasting my time." So I don't think that comics are as back, but they talk shit, they're gossipy for sure. um but I do know that, like, it's the same thing, I think, as like rodeo cowboys or professional wrestlers. Like, if I was in an airport and I ran into a comedian who I might not like their act, I would still want to spend the entire amount of time that I had in that airport with the comedian, because you're bound in this very difficult task, like
Mm-hmm.
being funny in front of people is, I'm not going to say it's brave, but it is hard, like talking in front of a group of people and getting them to laugh. That's a difficult thing to do, So
Yeah,
like there's a lot of comics who I don't like their act. I don't like their politics. I don't like the way they act off stage. But if we're in a green room together, like, we'll fucking shoot the shit,
yeah,
I'm with it,
yeah.
but yeah, like comics definitely love to talk shit. The group chat's always hot.
I can't even
Uh
imagine, dude. I can't even imagine the
oh,
shit talking.
dude, there's so many
Uh,
group chats I'm in that if they ever
yeah,
went public, I would have to move to fucking Spain.
of
Like, I could
course.
never work again.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, again, with the comedians thing, I like to think at the end of the day, it's a brother, sisters in arms, because, it's not 1998, right? It's not like
Yeah.
people are vying for, there were only few HBO specials, a couple of
Mhm.
Comedy Central specials. Now we have the internet. I mean, people can do, if you're good, people are going to find out about you. It's the people who stick with it and keep
Yeah.
doing it. Like you said, you did 43 weekends a year. I mean, that's a lot of fucking comedy.
Right. And also, it's like comedy's so boutique now that you can find exactly the kind of comedy you
Yeah.
want.
Hmm.
So like, due to podcasting and due to the internet, uh, you don't have to like 95% of comedy, and you can still be a huge comedy fan. And I think that that's good. And I think a lot of people want to pretend like it's still 1995 and we're vying for the same, like getting on fucking Conan's going to change your life. And it's like, I know so many people who've done Conan who still work at Kinko's,
Same
like
thing with
there's no,
bands.
yeah, exactly. There's no kingmaker anymore. So being nice is just a good way to do business, because you
Yeah.
don't know when Tim Dillon's going to blow up. Like, being mean to Tim Dillon. I know, I fucking love Tim Dillon. And I know a lot of people didn't like him. I knew that people like thought that he was kind of a huckster and a flim flam man, and a fucking alt-right bigot, you know, and it's
Not
like,
a lot
no,
has
he's
changed, but yeah.
yeah, I know, but he's just like, you don't understand that he's doing satirical Alex Jones. Like, you don't get it. You look dumb when you don't like Tim Dillon. That's how I feel. So
Mhm.
you never know who's gonna blow up. So it's just nice to be nice to everybody.
Again, yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, why not just be a nice person, regardless of whether it's going to help you out or not? You'll go to sleep
Correct.
feeling better. I don't, again, but I'm from New Jersey, northern. I'm from where they filmed The Sopranos,
Yeah.
so I am from the mecca of aggression. Go
Did
fuck
you
yourself.
have you ever been to Bananas Comedy Club?
Yeah, weren't there a couple of them? I
I
feel like
like how you answered that question.
there was definitely one in a mall. I don't know if it's still in that mall, dude. I've seen. I mean, yeah, but I've seen a lot of comedy in Boston.
Yeah.
I forget. It was either Nick's Comedy Stop, whichever club was in Faneuil Hall. I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But I saw Bob's my ex girlfriend was this is a long time ago. Northeastern. She was going to college there, and we went to see Bob Saget. And
Oh wow.
I sat, and we sat in the front, dude. And this is 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had a Jew fro, like, and he probably ripped me apart. If he did an hour,
Yeah.
17 minutes was just making fun of me, because my girlfriend was hot and I was like not attractive. And yeah,
You're
and I
very
mean,
handsome. I'm looking at you.
well, thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But back, it was just like I mean, it was not working, and yeah, and I mean, that was probably the first time I'd ever been shit on. Yeah, I've been. I mean, I can go. I've seen a lot of shows because again,
Sure.
I'm a single dude, so I go to all these shows by myself. I'm
Yeah.
that weird comedy fan dude,
Uh-huh.
like sitting at the back bar by himself.
Yeah.
So I've had very. I'll tell you a quick little story. I got to see Chappelle at Punchline. Have you
Uh-huh.
ever been to the Punchline in San Francisco?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've
So
worked there a couple times. It's a great
I'm
club.
at the back bar, and it was when Chappelle. It was like when he was doing, he would just announce it and tickets sold
Yeah.
out. I get a ticket. I might have done, I might have hung out before some people beforehand. We won't talk about what went down there,
Yeah.
but I show up to the Punchline. I'm like ready to go. I'm
Uh-huh.
in the back. Chappelle does his thing. He does, 2 hours smoking cigarettes, doing shots.
Yeah.
For people who have never been to the Punchline, you're like at the back bar, but in front of you is the main crowd. So there's an
Yeah.
area you could walk. There's a little walkway.
Which is, I don't know how those waitresses navigate that. It's so insane.
Again, in one of, I think, the best clubs in the country.
100%. Yeah.
And in fucking walks Chris Rock, and no one
Holy shit.
sees him in the crowd except for the 10 people at the bar, including me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck, dude. Chappelle bring they. I didn't leave the punch. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. I didn't. Tuesday night, I left the Punchline at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
They did 4 hours, dude, just off the dome.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being in the city when he did tweet one of those things, and me and all my, fucking deadbeat friends, we like rushed. I think he did Cobb's that time,
Oh,
and we ran
damn.
over to
Yeah.
Cobb's,
Yeah.
and of course we couldn't get in,
Yeah.
but he performed for at least 3.5 hours.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. What a
Again,
cool life, man.
Chappelle.
Just like him and Hannibal being able to tweet at 4 o'clock, hey, I kind of want to do a show tonight, and then selling 400 tickets in the
Yeah.
course of an hour and a half. Like,
Yeah.
that's so admirable.
And Chappelle has a deep SF history. He's always
Yeah.
kind of repped this city on his shoulders.
Yeah.
So he does a lot. He'll do them at the Chapel, which is a venue down in the Mission. Like when the Punchline was like they might not have been able to make it.
Yeah, yeah, he came through.
He was on this fucking steps of City Hall with a
Uh-huh.
bullhorn. He's been an SF guy through and through.
Yeah, he's great, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait, have you performed at the Punchline?
Yeah, yeah, a bunch.
Oh, dope. Okay,
Because
cool.
I mean, my best friend David Bory, who's now the voice of Comedy Central, he lived at Sylvan House in San Francisco, which is that house at Fourth and Geary. Um, and I would come out there all the time and just crash on floors and do every show. Have you ever been to Cheaper Than Therapy?
Is that the name of the show?
Yeah, and it's in a very small black box theater
In the theater district.
yeah, yeah.
I've been there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's one of my favorite rooms to work
Yeah.
out.
Dude, this city, I love this fucking city, man.
I'm jealous, man. Good for you. It's
Yeah.
fucking killer there.
Yeah, I hope
I've
it,
spent a
I
lot of
hope
time
after
there.
this whole thing, again, Denver too, I'm happy I just don't live in, I'm happy we don't both live in Austin right now.
Fuck, I know, dude. I
How
know.
crazy is that? I mean,
I don't get it.
let me ask you, I mean, as a dude who's kind of, up and up, coming on up, you have no desire to hop on the bus, get a little plot of land outside of Austin and wait for Rogan to open up that club? Like
No, I mean,
every other comedian out there.
I know Tim just moved there, right?
I think literally every comedian is moving out there.
No, man, I don't have any want to do that.
Interesting.
No, I mean it sounds great.
Yeah.
It sounds utopian,
It
and
was a
I'm
joke.
glad.
You don't seem like the kind of guy who would do that. No.
No, I mean, but a lot of people moved there. A lot of people moved to Nashville,
Yeah.
and they're great cities. But I'm a fucking happily married man now,
Yeah.
dude. I'm locked into my wife.
Yeah.
I also don't want to live in MacArthur,
Yeah,
Texas.
fuck that. Well,
Yeah,
you had said earlier, and I want to first off say congratulations for even performing at the Montreal Comedy Festival. That's a huge, huge.
thanks, man.
You said just for laughs. Um, then you said immediately after the agents were talking to you and they kind of rolled their eyes when you lived in Denver. At this point, how was it even with the internet and whatever? How do you even have to live in LA and New York? I mean, it real quick in the publishing world, the entire publishing world is based in New York City, which
Yeah.
at this point it doesn't have to be, but it is.
Mm-mm.
Why, what are your thoughts on that going forward? I mean, why the fuck would you have to live in LA at this point?
Not only do you not need to live in LA or New York, you don't need a manager or an agent anymore. Um, Managers and agents have to act like they're so important because if they don't, then they're just going to disappear. And also, I think that they're very good at finding someone who has 100,000 YouTube subscribers, letting or has a podcast that does decent numbers, and then going to them after they've done all this work and built their name for themselves and trying to get their hooks in and get their 10% of a pretty known entity. Um, I think managers and agents are very good at getting with people in comedy, at least, who have been doing comedy for 3 years and they're pretty enough or unique enough looking to be in a commercial and just trying to not necessarily even, I don't think they're looking out for comics or trying to build comedians like the way that they were when I started. Now they're just trying to protect themselves, man, because as so many people have pointed out, they're a vestigial tale. Like you don't need them anymore. And also in comedy, it's like really hard to know when you're doing a good job or like when you're like succeeding as a comic. So I think that having an agent or a manager is very good for a comic who moves to LA or New York, because then they can call home and tell their parents like, hey, I'm with UTA now, and they're not wasting their time, because comedy's so lonely and you're just wandering through the fucking abyss most of the time, bumping off of stuff, hoping you're doing it correctly, because there's no like roadmap to victory and stand up.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you, and especially unless you're just throw out a name, unless I was gonna say Louis C.K., but I like Louis, but maybe people don't.
Hey man, who's funnier? That's all I'm
I,
gonna say.
I saw him at San Jose Improv, his first show back. I was
Yeah.
there, the first show, and there was probably, I'm not going to over exaggerate, 200 plus people outside protesting with bullhorns.
Yeah.
There was at least 4 or 5 news trucks. And you know who sat in the front row?
Who?
2 black girls, lesbians. And you know
Yeah.
who laughed the hardest the entire show?
Those guys?
Those women.
Man. Well, yeah, sorry.
Them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The duo.
Uh,
I always say guys, and I think it's gender
don't worry.
non-specific.
Someone yelled to me. Literally, I have a couple, a lot of gay friends, and
Yeah.
one of my friends, I was talking. I said girl. He's like, "Do you mean woman?" I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's like, girl makes it sound like she's 15. I'm like, okay, well,
Right.
she's not, but relax.
That's one I'm working on because my wife is so adamant about it. But I like y'all. I like guys. But yeah, like I wish Lily would have apologized better. Like that would have been good to show a little bit of humility. But as far as his body of work, it's still excellent.
Oh yeah. Wait, but why did I bring him up? Oh, the agent thing.
Yeah.
If you're a kind of dude or girl or whatever, who's raking in millions and millions, yeah, it makes sense you need an agent or a manager to do those kinds of things. But if you're the kind of person like we linked up via Twitter, you don't need an agent to link up to do a podcast.
Not at all.
You know?
And you know what, man? I don't even know because like Like Hannibal, for instance, just has a lawyer. You
Smart.
know, like if you want to get to Hannibal, there's a phone number you can call and leave a message, a la Bill Murray. So I feel like once you're a known, once you like can put butts in seats, I don't even know if you need an agent or a manager then,
Uh,
unless you just don't want to deal with it. Like I'm
that
sure
was the
Seinfeld doesn't want to have to deal with anything. So he's like, I'm rich, take 10% and just keep the little shit out of my way, you know?
I can clean my own apartment, but if I want to pay someone to do it because I'm either lazy or I'm
Yeah.
lazy, you can pay
Yeah.
someone to do it.
Do you do that?
No, kidding me? Come on, I've never hired a cleaning person.
I'm so interested in hiring a cleaner for my house.
Well, we started off the podcast. Now that I'm moving into a slightly bigger apartment,
Yeah.
maybe I might have to. I don't know. I've never done it. I've never done
I've
it.
never either, and I feel shameful even considering it because it's like feel lazy and like you're pissing money away, but at the same time, it's like I fucking hate cleaning, you know?
And you know what? It's basic, just economics.
Yeah,
The person you're paying to clean your apartment is using that money to go buy food at a restaurant, and it's a ripple effect, obviously.
you're right, man. It's trickle down economics. We're heroes if we hire a cleaning crew.
Sam, I think we just solved everyone's moral dilemma if they ever needed to hire a cleaning person.
Oh, it's a weight off my neck. I
Yeah,
appreciate that,
yeah.
Michael.
So, what are your plans now, man? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming the world will go back to normal. How do you kind of rev back up the engine? I wanted to ask you this because I think it's going to be difficult for bands to do this.
Yeah.
Assuming that we can get back to full capacity and everything. Do you think there's going to be a clog in a backlog of people trying to get on stage at all these clubs? I know bands are going to have a hard time booking tours, probably.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet I assume there will be because once if people are in a safe spot where they're vaccinated or whatever, like they're gonna want to go out and experience live content, right?
The world will go on.
Right. But then how long does that adamance to be outside exist? Like the first 3 months when people can go see shit, like this summer, hopefully, it's gonna be a fucking feeding frenzy for live performance. But then when winter comes back around, like let's say you're a band and you're trying to get booked and you can't get booked in a spot because of like that clog you're talking about, you can't get booked until December. Like is it going to be worthwhile, like if your big market's Philadelphia and you're going to go play Philly in December and there's a snowstorm, obviously that sucks, but I guess I don't know. I don't know. I can't
I
put
mean,
the
you wrote
point
a
I'm
book
trying
about
to
it.
make.
It's that's the job.
No, I know. I can't figure out the point I'm trying to make. I think I haven't considered what you said, and I'm just talking without actually thinking about it. But yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's gonna
And
be
that's a
interesting.
very
I
good
think.
point.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be because as soon as let's just pick a year from now, Cobbs is at full capacity. Stanhope wants to get on that stage. Ali
Yeah.
Wong wants to get on that stage. Nikki Glazer wants to get on that stage.
Hmm.
It's gonna be yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting once it kind of opens back up.
Yeah. I know that some of the worst clubs in the country have been hitting me up to come headline. Like literally the Looney Bin just hit me up and they're like, "Hey, do you want to come to Little Rock? It's $900 for 5 shows." And I told the guy who I'm friendly with, I was like, "Jeff, man, like, no, this is a terrible offer." And he's like, "I know, man, but everyone's so desperate to come back to work that this is what the bidding's at right now." And I'm
Yeah,
like, "Oh, dude,
interesting.
what am I going to do? Take a $600 pay cut to go to Little Rock and eat my ass for fucking 3 nights? No way, man." And he's like, "I feel you, brother, but this is just how it is right now."
Yeah,
And it's
is
like,
that at full?
okay.
And that's a full capacity club?
Oh yeah, I don't think they ever gave a shit, you
Yeah,
know?
most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely.
Like Side Splitters in Tampa, I don't know if they
Well, that's
canceled the
Florida. They
show.
don't. Yeah, they don't. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, they don't give a fuck. That's crazy, man.
What a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
point though, man. I never thought of that. That's crazy.
yeah. Well, music is so old. Again, I know you said you don't think comedy is an art form. I do.
Yeah.
I think it's an art form for sure. And just like music, just like book writing, all these businesses run parallel. I mean, it's all about the dollar at the end of the day. I mean, you're talking about, taking a pay cut and shit like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's going to be a guy or a girl or whoever who wants to get on that stage for that money. That's always going to happen.
There is for sure. And I just worry that the crowds who are so desperate for content are going to go out and see a comedian who wouldn't have been offered a headlining week unless it was during a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be like, oh, this comedy sucks. Like,
Agree. And I'm gonna even piggyback off that idea. And I think Netflix fucked up comedy in a way.
huh?
Only because again, I'm as pure of a fan as comedy as you can get, dude.
Yeah,
There's when a year or two ago when you put on dude, it was just fucking
yeah,
every day was another special. And especially with the people's attention spans, an hour-long special nowadays, people don't sit there and watch a full hour. They don't do it.
no,
I think you mentioned Bert Kreischer. It's either Bert or Tom talked about it, but they said, I think, no, Bert, he said specifically in his new special, he took the best shit and put it at the front. And because
yeah,
he knew people after 20, 30 minutes, they kind of are tuning out. And yeah, I think,
wow.
yeah, that's how I look at it. Netflix kind of, it was just like, Jesus fucking Christ. It, in a way, almost diluted the art form because some of those specials suck dick.
Oh, for sure, dude. There was a lot of really bad ones. I remember I was a huge TJ Miller fan because he was
Mm.
from Denver and we were friends. Did you see his special, his HBO special?
No, there's two. Again, there was
Sure,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it was dog shit though. That's
Bummer to hear.
it was a bummer. I was like so stoned, and I was like, all right, all I'm doing tonight is watching TJ's special. I'm gonna get as high as fuck.
Yeah,
And I was sitting there, and I asked my wife, I was like, what?
yeah,
Am I too stoned to know what comedy is? Like, this
yeah,
isn't funny, right? And she's like, no, it's terrible. What are you
yeah,
talking about? But
yeah.
yeah, man. But at the same time, it's like it's cool that Ali Wong, who worked her ass off for so long, finally got paid by Netflix, you know? So like
Hell
it
yeah.
is bad probably for 90% of comedians, but the people who got that money, like I'm happy for them, you know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, again, there are some Netflix specials that'll go down in history. Obviously,
Yeah.
Netflix has put out some amazing specials. But again, for me as a comedy fan, it was just it became so much that it became like a joke in itself.
Yeah.
Like what another again, and there's another special. It's just like, oh, they,
Yeah.
it
Oy
was
vey. I
rough.
like that. I say oy vey a lot. That's probably the most cultural appropriation I get into is like I do a Passover now because I went to a Passover 3 years ago in Columbus, Ohio, and I was like, this is the best. Like what, why don't we do this every year? And they were like, well, because you're not Jewish, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna fucking round up some Jews, which historically that's not good, but I was doing it for the right reasons. But yeah, man, and also like there's just people are lazy. Like why would you want to leave your house if you can stay in and watch like allegedly the best comedians in the world, in the comfort of your own home?
Yeah.
I also worry about a bunch of people who were half-assing it at stand up. Like they would go to like 3 open mics a week and during quarantine, they're like, as soon as I can get back out there, I'm gonna fucking chase my dream 10 times harder. And like they were never good, like they were bad. So it makes me nervous that all these like very unskilled comics are gonna try and like clog up the stages and shit.
You don't think it's going to equal out in the other spectrum of where those really shitty comedians who were clogging up the stages will finally realize I no longer am going to do this?
I hope so
Because
because
I
like
know a
I
couple of
was
them personally.
yeah, me too, man. I know
I
more
hope
than a
they
couple.
stop.
um Yeah, because I was like, what am I gonna do? My whole life's been defined by being a comedian. I won't be able to make it. And like I was fine, like not having to be in an airplane twice a week. Like it was nice to be forced to take a break from this thing. Of course,
Yeah,
I miss it and I can't wait to
yeah,
go back. But all these people who I remember when COVID first hit, there was like a fund for comics in Denver for like rent relief and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And all these people who were applying for these grants, they probably made 40 bucks a month off stand up. It's like, oh, what am I going to do? All my money's gone. And it's like, what? You never ever made money off stand up.
yeah,
What are you
yeah,
talking about? Like, get out of the way.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
people who actually were making some of their rent off stand up and you're just in the way of them. Like, I don't know. That really pissed me off, man. It
No,
was
I
like
get it.
stolen valor.
I get it. I get it. And it's 2021. I like to think, the world for comedians now. If you're the kind of person who wants to get after it, there are so many tools right now. I mean, look at Andrew Schultz. I mean, there are people
Yeah.
who have turned this pandemic into something that is just, they've launched their careers by doing things. And again, it just depends on if you want to get after it. Um,
Also, Schultz is just so unique. He's such an innovator and he had so much foresight. Because when I was at Montreal in 2019, he was the talk of the festival. And it was like, and he would be at the bar talking to like me and like Shane Gillis and being like, you don't need any of these fucking people. These people don't mean anything anymore. Like, here's what you do, blah, blah, blah. And we were like fired up, and like chugging beers. And then you just see his meteoric rise continue. And it's like, damn, he was like a soothsayer, he knew the
Yeah.
future.
You said Shane Gillis, a guy again, a dude who, I mean, obviously the SNL thing, but now who's kind of. Did you see that video he put out about the car salesman, the
Oh yeah,
ISIS?
ISIS, yeah, for
That
sure.
dude, I don't, it's hard for to get me that fuck. And again, that's a dude who now I am now a full fledged fan. He got
Oh
me
yeah.
in a time where it's hard to, people are out there to get.
Yeah.
And he fucking, I mean, I don't know if it's your kind of comedy. He fucking nailed it with that.
No, he's very much my kind of
Oh
comedy.
yeah, yeah, that was
And
great.
obviously Shane got in trouble, and uh, I think that the thing he got called out for, the using the Chinese slur, was bad, but he was also, he said the F slur a lot on his podcast too. So you're gonna get in trouble,
Yeah,
But Shane, luckily, is very, very just tough, mentally strong, and I'm glad that he kind of landed on his feet. I talk to Shane a lot. We're pretty good friends. During the Super Bowl, we both fucking ate our ass gambling on the Chiefs.
let's not even go there, please.
Brother, oh fuck, because he was in North Carolina and he wasn't in a legal state to place a bet, so I had all of his bets in. Good God, we fucking tanked, man.
Crazy.
Brutal. We had first half and second half. Oh, it sucked.
Yeah,
He took
dude.
the over like an idiot, but that's
Okay,
not on me.
dude. Sam, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. I can hear Reba barking, so
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
no,
yeah,
do
no,
you,
no. This is
man?
where I normally
I'm
end it,
glad to
but
be here.
I always kind of end the podcast with two quick questions. Obviously, you're probably heavy into social media. Where are people going to find you on Twitter, Instagram? What do you do?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I like it a lot more at Sam Talent, SamTallent. If you want to follow me on Twitter, God bless you. But I just retweet people, and like, luckily people will tag me, like guys like you, and I end up doing podcasts and
Yeah,
stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, at Talent Sam on Twitter. And buy my book off my website. You get a signed copy for $25, including shipping. And if you're like, oh, I can buy it off Amazon for 20, it's like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever done. Why don't you pay an extra $5 and I'll make 17 instead of 7? So order from me at my website.
Well, then you answered my second. Literally, you answered my second question. I always ask, where do people buy your book?
Oh yeah.
Buy it on the website, but also, can you rep any local bookstores? Any spots you'd like to rep? Obviously, Green Apple.
Oh yeah, Green Apple rules. I love Green Apple. I love City Lights. Um, the best bookstore in Denver, Tattered Cover. Kilgore Books, Mutiny Information Cafe has a great book selection. Yeah, if you're in Denver, go to Mutiny. You can buy my book there. What else, man? There's a bunch of that's all I do on the road is go to bookstores, use
Yeah,
bookstores, and
yeah,
kill time.
yeah.
The fucking bookstore in Iowa City, I can't remember that one's name, but god damn is it good. The University of Seattle or the University of Washington bookstore in Seattle's amazing. The one that's like Hennepin and Quinn in Minneapolis is amazing. I miss bookstores, man.
Yeah, dude, I miss it all, man. I miss doing these in person. Maybe we could do one in person again in the future, man.
Michael, what a joy.
Yeah, what a blast. And
It was
if
really
we do,
fun.
yeah, and if we do, I promise I will bring you a dreidel.
Thanks, man. Just
Dude, Sam,
I'll pass on the gefilte fish. I
most
tried it.
definitely.
It's not for me, brother.
Dude, no worries. It's not for me unless you're my 68-year-old Jewish mother from the Bronx.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, but what about whitefish, huh? Woohoo! Come on.
that's a whole nother podcast. Whitefish on everything bagel. Let's not even go there, please. Sam, dude, what a blast, man.
Oh man, what a mitzvah. I appreciate you, Michael.
Enjoy the day, man.
Yeah,
Later.
thanks, brother. Congrats on the move.
Thanks, man. Bye bye.